Jason Reyes with Pomade. Some of the things that I assess before a haircut. Receding hairline. I'm going to see if there's any recession that I need to be aware of. I'm also going to look for any cowlicks and growth patterns. I'm going to assess the bottom neck hairline to see if I need to diminish or maintain any weight throughout that area. I start off this haircut creating my part with my trimmer. If you notice, I work from front to back, making sure that that line is nice and clean. Then I'll start off with a number 1 closed. I'm going to set myself a guide that's going to go from the higher temporal area through the occipital bone towards the opposite side. If you notice that I start cutting downward, it's because I'm cutting against the grain on some of that hair at the hairline is growing upward. That is the reason why I'm going to taper that hairline. Tapering that hairline, I'm going to use my trimmer to establish first that line. If you notice, I went straight across, and then I start blending that out with an open blade. As I use my open blade, you notice that my stroke is very soft, right? So it's almost like I'm feathering as I'm cutting, and I continue slightly closing that blade and working just slightly further down to start to diminish and blend in that fade line that we created. As I continue diminishing that line, you notice also that my stroke is just a lot less lighter and it becomes a lot more compressed. So as I continue to cut, you notice that I use my brush, and that is just to remove the hair that is stuck to the scalp. If you notice, I go to the sides and I start tapering the same manner, from an open blade to a closed blade, and just slightly blending in the beard with that open blade. You notice that I'll use the corner of the clipper to diminish any weight that I may have. I'll go in now with my number 2, open, working towards the center back, then close that blade, working in that same manner. A 1.5 is going to come in between that, and you'll see that now on the opposite side. So here with my number 1, I went open and then close. So here you see a little bit of more detail on this opposite side, working with my number 2, starting at that front with that blade open, working towards the center back, then I closed it, working in that same manner. I'm working against the head shape, so if you notice, I'm not following that contour. I go in now with a 1.5 open, and notice again, look at how I'm utilizing my hand just to bring that clipper straight out. Also folding that ear down with my opposite hand. Guard is not hitting against their ear. So as I start blending that towards the back, you notice that I stay just a little bit lower from that crown area. Once I've completed that, I'm going to go in with my number 1 open. I'm going to go in now and switch to my number 1 open. With my number 1 open, I'm going to start cutting from that front hairline and diminishing that weight line that was established, remember, with my number 1 close. As I work towards the center back, you notice that I have a very light stroke as I'm feathering that out. And then I start closing my blade and using more the corners of the clipper in some areas. And the reason is, anytime I see something that's a little bit dark and I'm working with the curvature of the head, it's easier just to use just that corner of the clipper. I'm going to go in with scissor over comb above the parietal ridge area. So that area, I want to maintain it just like a square. I want to maintain that just slightly up so it'll support the length that I have on the top. So with my scissor over comb, I want to make sure that my scissor and my blade are moving together, and that also they cut parallel. So meaning that I want to make sure that that blade is nice and parallel to my comb as I'm cutting. I have to be very aware that my hand that has the comb is the one in control of the length. The further I'm out from the head shape, the longer the hair would be. After I've done that, I just go in and put a little bit of detail again with my number 2, and then go in with my trimmer and just clean out the outline. So if you notice, as you start cleaning the outline, I just start going right around the ear, working my way up, and then I work from front to back, cleaning that out, and then I'll go to that front hairline. Once I've established that, I'm gonna go to the top area. I'm gonna just add a little bit of moisture, and I'll start my haircut at the back with a section that's gonna go from side to side. So if you notice here, my over direction is just slightly back onto my previously cut section. I'm taking sections that are gonna start off from that part and then continue towards the opposite side. What I'm doing is that first section is gonna come straight up, and then as I work to the opposite side, that's just gonna slightly follow the contour of the head shape. If you notice also, I'm over directing that hair slightly backwards. So each time I cut a section, I bring that new section onto my previously cut. And here you can see a different angle. Working from the front of it, you notice how that first section is a different angle as I start working my way towards the front. You notice here as I start just slightly working with the contour of the head shape. And then that front hairline, I'm gonna start over directing that hair back, right? So I'm gonna over direct that hair back just so that I could have a little bit of a longer length. Because remember, the head shape is gonna slightly curve downward. So I wanna make sure that I compensate for that. One of my favorite products to utilize from MVRCK is my grooming spray. I wanna make sure that I have good saturation of my grooming spray. That's gonna help me with volume into the hair. And with my blow dry, you notice that my focus is on the base of that hair. So as I'm focusing on that base, I have a little bit of volume added into it. I utilize Maverick Original Pomade. Applying this using my fingers in a raking motion. I start from back to front, then from front to back. I'll complete this with my comb to give it just a little bit more of a sleek look. And here you see the end result. Hope you enjoy this tutorial.